got a little feisty yesterday. Training camp got a little feisty. Colts, Eagles, joint practice. Things got a little out of hand. We're going to talk about it today, whether we like that or not. We're going to pick up the conversations from this week already. And at 8:30, 15 minutes into the show for you people watching on replay, special guest Martin Frank, Delaware News Journal, Eagles beat reporter will be joining us, give us a first-hand account of what went on yesterday and what's been going on all throughout training camp. So I'm looking forward to that interview as well. We got lots happening today on Trending the AM. We're live right here on Philadelphia Sports Network in 30 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We're live, Facebook, YouTube, X. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, turn those notifications on, drop your comments, share it out, tell a friend, do it all. The number one morning show in the Philadelphia area. And it's the only morning show and only sports talk show in Philadelphia where your opinions actually matter. I'm your host, Phil Stiefel, as always, every single morning here on Trending the AM. We got a jam-packed show. Things got a little out of control yesterday at training camp, so we're going to dive into it. We're going to talk a little defense today. We're going to talk some of these roster bubble spots, all with our special guest coming up in about 15 minutes or so, Martin Frank, Delaware News Journal. He'll be joining us, one of the best on the beat, one of those guys. I've got a core few guys that, not ESP, but a core few guys that during training camp I follow every tweet of, and he's one of those guys. He's there every single day, giving us live updates, play-by-play. So we will be welcoming him at 8:30 on this show. You guys are already jumping in. K1 even before the show. No mention of the man we will not name. I just won't name his name. That's all we'll do. And you can rage on. Tyrone, what is up? Drew, what is up? I'm a little jealous. I'm a little upset, guys. I caught Drew. I caught K1. I caught Mad Chatter. Y'all jumping in the Flipping the Birds podcast last night, talking with those boys. And I caught you. Busted. You don't just love me. You love all sports talk, don't you, guys? It's all good. Flipping the Birds, Brian Cameron and crew do a great job there on their podcast. So glad to see you guys checking them in as well, Kyle. Yes, Trey, Mother, Blip, and Turner, man. What a ninth inning for the Phillies last night as they come from behind. Beat the Giants, now up 4 games in the wild card. Yeah. Red October. We will be mixing in Red October talk as the summer concludes here at some point. Not today, though. Not today. This is why these joint sessions are better than preseason. The intensity is real. I think it's a fantastic comment to get started. Now, there were 2 scuffles yesterday. One, Derek Barnett. And it's funny when you read these beat reporters and you read this stuff going on because you get 2 sides of the story. You get the Eagles reporters and what's happening, and you get the Colts reporters. Now, you're going to hear stories that Derek Barnett punched Anthony Richardson to start the first one. He was punching the ball out. He was trying to go for a strip sack. But his reputation, as I've talked about all offseason, precedes him. So that was that one. The second scuffle was Jason Kelsey starting a fight. But you won't see from the Colts people that a Colts lineman or Colts linebacker took a late hit on Kenneth Gainwell, and Kelsey was just supporting his guy. The intensity. It's game action for these first stringers. So this is the first moment of intensity that these guys have had since the Super Bowl, the one against the Browns last week and this week. So it's great to see them get their intensity ramped up a little bit. Now, you do want to control your emotions a little bit. You don't want to hurt anybody. You don't want to, do anything that's going to hurt anybody on either side. But these joint practices, I've said it before, I could do away with preseason games altogether. Just give me joint practices all off season. That would be hell. Give me joint practices in OTAs for the rookies. Controlled settings like that. I would love it. Yeah, we're not raging today. We're gonna have fun today, as always, for sure. You guys cheating on me, cheating on me. I saw K1 talking about Jonathan Taylor last night in the comments, but I'm not allowed to talk about him today. You guys, what is up with that? In my defense, I was hammered last night, and I don't remember who they are. Well, they're my brethren over here at Philadelphia Sports Network. I don't even remember who was on. I think Morgan was on for a little bit last night. Brian always, Eric Reese, Nick Faria, who's been on this show a couple times. He was on last night. They do a great job. So, but they don't put all your comments up on the screen like I do. They don't care about your comments like I do. Just so you know, I get around what I can. I got you. Good morning. What is up, Judlin? I mean, we're not allowed to talk about it, Judlin. K1 said he is going to rage if we keep talking about him. Oh, my God, you guys. Getting off on a fast start here with the comments. Kelsey felt bad about ending practice early. Yeah, but I do enjoy the intensity. You want someone to stick up. If it was truly a late hit, you want somebody to stand up for it. You don't want Kenneth Gainwell getting hurt. And that's why the late hit that started the fight is why you don't want these guys in the preseason games, because there's a lot of guys fighting for teams. And we're going to have Martin Frank on here in a few minutes, and he just put out an article. He thinks there's 22 roster spots, 22 guys fighting for final roster spots. The Colts have the same thing. They got guys fighting for final roster spots. They're going to make aggressive moves, sometimes not dirty moves, but aggressive moves that can hurt somebody. And you don't need your guys getting hurt. So the intensity level ramped up, as Tyrone said, with not letting anybody get hurt is what these practices are all about. All this attention, and none of the guys will play tomorrow. Exactly. But that's okay. We need to worry about the guys fighting for roster spots tomorrow. We need to learn who the backup is going to be to whoever when someone goes down, and inevitably it happens. That's what this is for. I wish, and I know they would never do it, I wish they televised the joint practices. Maybe at least online. You know what the views would be on the Eagles website if they just aired the joint practices on their website? I don't know about you guys, but I'd be locked. I wouldn't need to be following Twitter. I'd be locked on these joint practices. You don't even need to have like replays. You just have a distant camera, just watch it. Dude, I'd be all over that stuff without a shadow of a doubt. You were talking about Foles last night. I forgot about that. I did pop in when you mentioned his name. All I know is the Colts better be cool on Thursday night. Let bygones be back. Exactly. The Colts are in a different spot than the Eagles for sure. So, it's really interesting to see how Thursday night will go. And we'll be watching it. Whether we want to or not, we will be watching the Thursday night preseason game. Yeah, didn't Hurts get hit with a late hit last preseason? Yes. I forget when it was, but I believe so. And you don't want that. You don't want them getting hurt. You don't want to be worried about. Yeah, I'm telling you. Again, NFL, call me. I'm full of ideas to better the sport. Kyle would be watching it too. I'd be watching honestly, you let all these reporters into practice. They've been to 15 practices this year, not counting the closed walkthroughs. We're getting all the information. We're getting highlight videos from Chris Franklin. We're getting detailed reports from ESP and Martin Frank and Ed Kratz. They're my guys. Why don't you just stream all the practices then? Or a section of them? Dude, you can sell so many ad spaces on the online videos because so many fans would be tuning in. Kemsky does a good job. Absolutely. I read every one of his articles over at Philly Voice for sure. Some reason the algorithm doesn't have his stuff popping up all day long on my timeline. I'm not sure. All 22 cameras would rock. Fantastic, Anthony. Fantastic. I would be for it. I would be. I'd be 100% full for that. Careful, Phil. They get the idea that they'll change it. Yeah. Oh, they'll charge. Oh, my God. Just take my credit card now, NFL, Eagles. I mean, it better not be much. But, yeah, I'll give you my credit card to watch the joint practices. Hell, we had the request yesterday. You guys want me to live stream during an Eagles game so we could talk during an Eagles game. I'd be live streaming during practices for sure, without a shadow. I'd be up in my super chat charges for overtime, but I would still do it. I would still pay for it. It is facts, man. So what did we learn yesterday from practice? Outside of the chippiness, outside of, what's, the skirmishes. First and foremost, again with Derek Barnett, Do we think Dark Barnett's going to get chopped? Is his reputation, because again, some will say he started the fight, some will say he was just trying to make a play on a football. Will his reputation precede him, and will he be cut? That's first question from camp yesterday. Question 2, what's going on with the wide receivers? Again yesterday, still no Britton Covey. Question 3, again, you see it with ESP does 2 good things. He tracks every single Jalen Hurts pass, and he tracks the running back snaps with the first team. Trey Sermon had 0 snaps with the ones yesterday. First practice back since his ankle injury. These are things that we need to be looking at. We did learn that we whooped their ass. That is for sure. Dark Barnett really fighting for a roster spot. Again, it's the reputation. And I hate when his reputation gets in the way of what was probably just a very aggressive play. He just tried to punch them. How many times do we see guys come up from behind and try to punch a ball out? Eagles have been doing that for years. Football players have been doing it for years. Yeah, we learned that Smitty was good. I think good is an understatement, but yeah. $4.99 a month to watch Eagles NFL Plus. Sure, I mean, I would pay $4.99 to watch all the preseason practices for sure. We learned that, yeah, he's not good. He's God. Yeah, okay. I don't know if that was a typo or you meant it, but I get either one is good. Good or God, whatever. Yeah, Barnett fighting for the roster spot. That was clever. Isn't Dark Barnett too expensive to cut? Yeah, I don't know I know he's got an expensive contract. I think he's like $7.5 million he's getting paid this year. I don't know what the cap hit is if you cut him. Maybe they find a way to trade him somewhere. Maybe a team will give you a 6th or 7th round pick from. I don't know. I still think he makes the team. I do. 2 seconds before me, Anthony. Okay, gotcha. Barnett is actually cheap. He's I think his contract is like 7. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to type it in. It's an easy find for me. Spot track contract Derek Barnett 2023. I don't know where I got $7.5 million. Okay, so his cash, he gets paid $7.5 million in cash, but his base salary is only $3.5 million. He's a $5.5 million cap hit if you cut him. Oh, no. The cap hit, if you keep him, is 5.5. If you cut him, his dead cap hit is $12.6 million. That's a lot. So you're not cutting Dark Barnett and eating $12 million. He doesn't get paid a lot, but if you cut him, the dead cap hit is very big. So it's either a trade or he makes the roster. We've discussed the future is practice stream. Charge and shows like Hard Knocks. It's why Hard Knocks is so big. I mean, I don't get HBO anymore, so I haven't watched this year's Hard Knocks. But you know, it's intense. It's because football is a year-round sport, and everybody wants more football, especially in Philly. Especially in Philly, where we've just come off one of the most disappointing Sixers seasons, and the Sixers off season. We just need football. Coming off of a Super Bowl loss, we just need football. So we're ready. I guarantee you there'd be a lot of money being brought in if they were streaming these practices and they were paying for them. Barnett got a real fighter's chance. So yeah, we're all making Dark Barnett fighting jokes here. It's not the cap hit. It's what's the dead cap hit if you cut him. That's what you want. That's what you want to worry about. Is Dark Barnett's 5 sacks worth his 5 15-yard penalties? Problem is, 3 of those 5 15-yard penalties are reputation calls, and I firmly believe that those don't happen if it's somebody else. Hang on 1 second. My guest just asking, having a little camera issue, so we might go faceless Martin Frank here, but that's okay. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to cut him at this point. All right, so we're gonna pause. I'll come back to the comments in a few minutes, guys. We got our special guest joining us here today on the I Have No Sponsor hotline. It's Martin Frank, Delaware News Journal, one of the beat reporters covering every single day down there at the NovaCare Complex. Good morning, Martin. How you doing today?
Doing great. How's it going there?
Very good. I'm glad to have you on. I just want you to know that this is the first time you've been on my show in the morning here, but we really do appreciate all the hard work that you guys do every single day down there at practice covering this team.
thanks. Actually, we all love training camp because we're allowed to see the entire practice and everything. And it's something like yesterday was the last open practice to the
Mhm.
media. So we won't see this again probably until next spring with the OTAs. So yeah, this is welcome for us. We love doing this.
I had a plan for what the show before you came on was going to be talking about. Then all we've been talking about for the first 15 minutes, where us fans, us other people that don't have the access you guys have, we would actually pay if the Eagles started streaming these practices because we crave more football so much. We would actually
Yeah.
literally pay if they would start streaming these practices online.
Yeah, it would be awesome. I mean, the Eagles are like a lot of teams will open up maybe like 10 or 12 practices to fans.
Mhm.
I've seen as many as 10 or 12. The Eagles only do the one at the link, and they had what, over 50,000 people there the one night they did it. And I mean, fans love that stuff. They can sit in the stands, they can watch everything. They see the drills, they can hear Nick Sirianni yelling at the players, and you can kind of get a sense of the intensity and what they're working on, and lineups and all that. It's a shame they don't do it more. I mean, I think the Eagles do it like probably the least among all the NFL teams, but so
All
is
right.
what
Well,
it is.
you used the word intensity there, so let's just dive right into that. Yesterday was quite an intense last day of practice. Against the Colts. Obviously, it's the topic everybody wants to talk about is the Derek Barnett situation, and obviously the Jason Kelsey situation with the fights and skirmishes or feistiness, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
From your perspective, both those situations, what happened, and you know you get different perspectives from the Eagles reporters and then the Colts reporters online.
Mhm.
What was your viewpoint on what happened in those two situations?
All right. Well, I'll start with the Derek Barnett situation. So basically, the way the practices are set up, the Colts offense is going against the Eagles defense on one field, and then on the field right next to it, the Eagles offense is going against the Colts defense.
Mm.
So, um, like and it's the ones against the ones, the twos against the twos. So Anthony Richardson and the Colts offense was out there, and Jalen Carter was on one side, Derek Barnett was on the other, and they go in, and the quarterback's wearing a red jersey, so obviously he can't be hit. And so anytime you get close enough to a quarterback, they'll blow the whistle, blow the play dead, so the quarterback doesn't get hit. So on this particular play, like both Carter and Barnett from opposite sides converged at Anthony Richardson, and they stopped because obviously they're not going to hit the quarterback. But Barnett kind of like knocked the ball out of Richardson's hand, and a couple of the Colts offensive linemen started pushing him and stuff, and Barnett's kind of in the position like he's going to fight, and then Jalen Carter comes over and he kind of pushes a couple guys, and then there's kind of like a brief skirmish, but it's quickly broken up. So at the end of practice, like the last drill, everybody's on the one field. So first, the Eagles offense is up against the Colts defense, and then vice versa. So on this particular play, or on a couple plays, Kenny Gainwell took a short pass, and Zaire Franklin from the Colts like hit him pretty hard. Now they're in pads, but they're not technically supposed to be tackling. You can like bump a guy, but you can't really tackle to the ground.
Mhm.
So, Gainwell kind of takes exception, but doesn't really respond. So then on the very next play, it's the same thing, like a short dump off pass to Kenny Gainwell. He kind of gains a few yards, and then Franklin comes in again and hits him. And at this point, Kelsey is seeing all this, and he and Franklin, I guess, were jawing during the practice before that anyway. So he comes running down and he like hits Zaire Franklin in the back, and then like the Colts are on one side and the Eagles on the other. Everybody kind of runs in, kind of like a hockey fight. I mean, not a hockey fight, like a brawl in baseball. The bullpen's empty and everything like that. But in this case, you got like 150, 160 guys because nobody's made any cuts. So, they're all kind of like pushing, yelling, and stuff like that. I mean, there weren't really any punches thrown after that. and it just took a while to kind of get everybody back to each sideline and everything. But it was pretty intense. I mean, you could tell that Kelsey was upset. Zaire Franklin was upset. Kenny Gainwell was upset. And, afterwards, Kelsey's like, yeah, I kind of gave him a cheap shot. I shouldn't have done that. And he's right, because, if that happens in a game, chances are he gets thrown out. And then, all of a sudden the Eagles lose a game, maybe they should win, and all that has repercussions. And Kelsey's been in the league long enough to know better. And he kind of apologized for it. Zaire Franklin kind of like, I wish, he grew up in Philly as an Eagles fan, so he's watched Kelsey for years, and he's kind of like saying, I wish the OG would at least look at me before he hit me and stuff, because he kind of blindsided him. Kenny Gainwell thought it was great because he's sticking up for his teammate. And I think a lot of the Eagle players felt that way, that, Kelsey got their back and everything like that. So it was kind of important in that sense of the word, but I think also Kelsey realized that he went too far and probably shouldn't do that again.
With the fact that, none of these starters, play the preseason, none of the ones are playing tomorrow night,
Right.
and they haven't all season. Is it kind of, in your opinion, because this was something that a commenter brought up right before you joined the show, was that at least the intensity level got racketed up a little bit, even though Kelsey admitted he was wrong to an extent. Is it
Yeah.
good, in your opinion, that they feel this high-end intensity before the regular season starts a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. I think, that's why they like doing the joint practices so much, because, if you're going against your own guys, it gets stale. Especially like 3 weeks, 4 weeks in, like we are now. So I mean, even last week, the two practices with the Browns, I mean, those were intense practices. There was some pushing and shoving there. Nothing like yesterday, obviously, but you kind of get juiced a little bit going against another team, and everybody's trying really hard, because this is the work that the ones, especially, the starters get, more so than in a preseason game. And that's the thing about a preseason game. You don't want guys like Jalen Hurts or AJ Brown or Devontae Smith playing, because what if you're going against a third string guy from another team who's trying to make a name for himself, and maybe takes a shot at Kelsey, or takes a shot at Hurts, and knocks him out, for quite a while with an injury. I mean, that's the last thing you want. If you're going in these joint practices and you're going against the other team's starting cornerback, that they're working to get ready for the season, that they're going to be intense, but they're also not going to take cheap shots. They're not going to have any kind of dirty type of play trying to make a name for themselves. They're all trying to get ready for the season. So it's a different kind of intensity, as opposed to a game where you might get hurt by some third string guy who's just trying to make the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So this morning, again, we're talking to Martin Frank here, from the Delaware News Journal. You dropped this morning. I was looking at the article this morning when it dropped. You're 22 players fighting for roster spots, and at the top, the first thing that jumped out at me, don't laugh, was the fact that it published at 4:42 a.m. I hope you're not awake at 4:42 a.m. publishing an article.
No. That's kind of like set the night before and everything. I don't know who said it at 4:42, but I tell them that it's ready, and they decide on a time to make the
I
go
was
on.
just I just noticed because I was making sure I didn't miss the article yesterday, and I just wanted to make sure. But anyway, to backtrack to the Derek Barnett fight,
Yeah.
not the fight itself, but in your article, he's one of those guys fighting for one of the last defensive end spots. And you mentioned during the fight, it was him and Jalen Carter lining up on the outside on that play.
Mhm.
Derek Barnett, is he really fighting for a roster spot right now? Because you wouldn't really think that he'd be lining up, quote unquote, with those ones and with Jalen Carter if he's really that much on a roster bubble right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of an interesting case. Like, talent wise, he's good. I mean, still pretty good. He's coming off the ACL and everything, but like, he gets like so many dumb, like, personal foul type of penalties and stuff, and it just drives the coaches crazy. And you always kind of wonder, like, is there a point where they say, okay, enough's enough? So that's kind of like the reason I have him on the roster bubble. And
Can
also, like,
I ask a side point on that? Do you think some of
yeah.
those penalties and fouls, like to me, when I watched him play or in the past, I kind of feel like some of them are reputation calls. Do you think he gets this bad? Like, because some of the Colts reporters were saying he flat out punched Anthony Richardson. In my mind, I'm like, that's the reputation, not necessarily what's happening on the field.
Yeah, I think there's some of that now. I mean, especially like he's been in the league since 2017, so he does have a history and everything. And there's always the famous clip of Sirianni during a game. I think it was the first year, 2021, where Barnett jumped off sides or whatever, and they threw the flag, and Sirianni was mouthing, "It's always him." So I mean, you can tell the coaches kind of get frustrated with him with stuff like that sometimes, and as good as he is, he was a first round pick in 2017. He is coming off the ACL surgery. And, a lot of those guys are rotating in and out. I mean, everyone makes a big deal about Carter getting all this time with the ones, but Barnett's been also working in with the ones. He's also with the twos. But, if you look at the defensive line position, obviously Hassan Reddick. I'm talking edge rusher. You got Reddick, you got Sweat, you got Nolan Smith, and you got BG. Those are four guys right there. So, like, you can kind of say there's a battle for that fifth spot. You have Barnett, and some of those other guys who are trying to make the roster. And it just depends on how they view it. I mean, you could always try to keep like a young guy as opposed to someone like Barnett. If you don't want to deal with the hassle of, at some point he's going to do something stupid and cost you 15 yards.
Going through, I mean, we only got a few minutes of your time. We could spend 3 hours dissecting your article and all the guys on the roster bubble. Which one of these bubble positions that you wrote about is the most intriguing, or the one that is actually the closest fight going on right now, which could go any way, even right through this weekend until roster cuts are on, I believe it's Tuesday?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I mean, the running back thing, I go back and forth with Trey Sermon and Boston Scott. I mean, everyone loves Boston Scott. He's been on the roster for 5 years. Is kind of like a long shot guy who just finds a way to stick. And, Trey Sermon's a guy who was a third round pick in 2021 from the 49ers. The Eagles picked him up, after roster cuts last year, and they kept him on the roster. And Sirianni, like, often unprompted, will mention how much he likes Sermon, but then you see the game last week. I mean, yes, he had the 33-yard touchdown run, but he also lost a fumble. So, it's kind of like it go back and forth. Yes, Sermon obviously has more potential and probably more talent than Boston Scott, but Boston Scott, like, doesn't hurt you with mistakes and stuff like that. So that's a good one. I love the cornerback battle. Obviously you have Slay and Bradbury, but all the other guys, fighting for that, backup role. Josh Jobe, I think, has pretty much set himself apart from the other guys as the third cornerback. I'm talking about on the outside, not in the slot. Right. So I mean, you got Eli Ricks, you got Mekhi Garner. Both those guys as undrafted free agents have played pretty well. I just think that's a really good battle, and obviously, wide receiver. You'd like to see one of those young guys stick, like Joseph Nagata started off really strong, but he's kind of dropped off. I thought Tyree Cleveland would have made the team if he didn't get hurt last week and then put on IR. You got Devin Allen finally healthy after the Olympic hurdles and all. I mean, the trials and all that. So, that's a good battle. I mean, there are a lot of really good battles pretty much at every position. It's hard to pick just one, but yeah, there's some good ones. It's going to be some tough cuts, that's for sure.
When you brought up the running backs as your most intriguing, and you mentioned Boston Scott and Trey Sermon, like you would get a lot of Eagles fans that can't believe that Boston Scott's on the bubble and not Rashad Penny, because we've talked on this show with the viewers pretty much for the last 3 weeks that Rashad Penny's kind of in that bubble, but it kind of seems like in the last week or so that Rashad Penny's proven he's healthy and has kind of sort of locked himself into a roster spot at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. I mean, that was the big thing with Rashad Penny, like proving that he's healthy. And I've just seen, like, even in practice, even in the preseason games, I mean, he's like a straight ahead runner, power runner that the Eagles don't really have. So I think really all Penny had to do was prove that he's healthy and that he can pick up a lot of yards after contact, which I think kind of sets him apart more so from the other guys. I mean, especially Swift and Kenny Gainwell. I mean, when you're talking about the fourth guy, Trey Sermon or Boston Scott, I mean, whichever one of those guys makes the team, or maybe they keep five. I mean, it's possible both.
Well, I was just going to say, the last 3 years they've only kept 3 running backs out of camp. Is there any scenario where they do? Because if they keep a fourth, then they've got to cut somewhere else, whether it's an extra offensive lineman, defensive lineman, whatnot. Is there any chance literally the last 3 years he's kept 3. Is there any way how he sticks to that? And 2 of these guys?
I think so. I can kind of only see them keeping 2 tight ends. Obviously Goddard's one, and Jack Stahl probably because he's a really good blocker. So I think you can make up for it in that respect. So yeah, I would think they'd keep 4. I mean, I know they're 1 year they kept 5. This was, I think, before.
Yeah, my notes only go back to 2019, so I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, they've done that before. I mean, I think they're just going to go with 4, in which case, it'll be Sermon or Scott. But, when you look at, I mean, they're going to be 3 main guys. It's going to be Swift, Penny, and Gainwell. And then, those are the ones you worry about. And Penny's kind of like your power back. The other 2 are more, your receiver out of the backfield type, although Swift can run, obviously. So it'll be a good rotation. And I think, a lot of people will ask me, like, how are they going to divvy up the carries? Is there going to be a number 1 guy? And I think personally, I think it depends week to week, like, who they're playing, what the matchup is, and, who might have the hot hand, like maybe they think, they're playing a team that's not as strong against the run. So they'll just like stick Penny in there and try to gain like 5 yards up the middle, or they might go with against a team that's pretty stout running, and they'll hit them with Swift out of the backfield.
I'm so excited for hearing all the reports of the different 2-back sets and all the combinations with those guys and their creativity of the offense. I'm really excited for it. Real quick, before I let you go, one final question that, everybody loves talking about quarterbacks, and it's not Jalen Hurts, the fun topic this offseason. It's Tanner McKee versus, Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
Marcus Mariota is the quarterback 2 to start this season, correct? Can you tell everybody that I'm right in saying that?
Yes, for this season. Yes, you are absolutely 100% right. And I think, the thing McKee proved, by his play and what Eagles fans should be excited about is, like, next year, he could be the backup quarterback, and you don't have to go out and spend like $8 million on a Mariota type of guy. In which case, that's money you could distribute around the rest of the roster. So, I mean, that's the most important thing that McKee showed, but in his 2 games so far, and you're going to see a lot of them on Thursday night. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays like maybe the first 2.5 quarters, something like that, and then Ian Book finishes up. I don't think. Well, I mean, obviously Hurts isn't going to play, and I don't think Mariota is going to play either. So, Tanner McKee fans, Thursday night.
There are a lot of McKee truthers out there, and it's been a fun battle on this show every single morning with the I haven't come up with a nickname yet for the McKee truthers or anything like that yet. I gotta get creative with a nickname for those guys. So again, we got Martin Frank, Delaware News Journal. I appreciate your time. What do you got? What are you going to do with all your free time now that there's no practices for you to cover?
There's still practices. We just, won't be able to see as much. So after the game Thursday night, they're off Friday, and then they get back to like start preparing for the regular season on Saturday and everything. I mean, this is kind of like the period that they're going into now is like, getting ready for the season. Everything is, they're done evaluating. They have their 53, or they're going to have their 53 guys. So obviously over the weekend and into Monday, it'll be cutting down the roster. And then, once that's done on Tuesday, after that, everything's about preparing for the New England Patriots on September 10th. So,
are you okay with the way they're doing all the cut downs at the same time versus spreading it out over the entirety?
Yeah, I think teams love it because that last preseason game, you don't want any of your main guys to get hurt. So it's the perfect game to evaluate everyone on the roster. And if you're already down to 80 or 75, you might have to play some of your starters, and obviously you don't want to do that because if these guys are already on the team, you don't want them getting hurt. I mean, it stinks for the fans because you're seeing a lot of guys that you never heard of, but for the teams, this is when they want to, get that final evaluation while keeping all their, top players pretty healthy and everything. So, yeah, I think it was inevitable that they would do that. Go from 90 to 53 all at once.
All right, that's cool. All right. Well, I greatly appreciate your time, Martin. Again, everybody, make sure you shoot Martin Frank a follow, MFrank NFL on Twitter or X or whatever it's called. Delaware online.com for his articles. I greatly appreciate your time this morning, Martin.
All right, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Phil. I appreciate you having me. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you very
Do it
much.
again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. You're always welcome. I tell it to
right.
all the beat guys. You're always welcome to kind of check my bad opinions on this show.
Yeah, no, they're not bad. You know what you're talking about. I like it.
All right. We have a great day, and yeah, we'll see. We'll see what you're right about the Eagles after this final preseason game.
All right.
All right, that was Martin Frank there on the I Have No Sponsor hotline. Make sure you give him a follow. Make sure you check out his latest article, the 22 guys on that final roster bubble. We are going to fire through it. There were a lot of comments coming in while he was talking there, and I want to make sure I get to all your comments, guys. But real quick, trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We got 15 likes on YouTube, 4 on Facebook. Make sure you hit that like button, help the algorithm. The more views, the easier it is for me to get more great guests on this show. They see these shows with big views, like, oh yeah, I'll come on and give our expertise. And I left this as the first comment I wanted to make. The Eagles market themselves like Nike, make them want more. And I thought that was a great comment from you, Tyrone. Anthony, God, I love Kelsey. Build his statue. He's going to have a statue without a shadow of a doubt. He is the GOAT as well. Never meet your idol. Yeah, I didn't even see that one. I love it. Yeah, Kelsey's been goated. I see a Fox's Pizza hotline. The Cowgirls fight was worse, and that was against each other. I hate internal fights in camp. I hate that. I'm going to try to find some of these here. Also intense competition for the core 12 roster. Well, anybody that was cheating on me last night might have gotten bumped out of the core 12. Jalen, you are in the core 12. K1 is the one that said he'd ban us if I mentioned some name of a running back. Yeah, I'm never on the bubble. I'm always on the bubble. Just wait till we go back to basketball. I push the trade and beat. Oh my God. James Harden fined $100,000 yesterday for calling Maury a liar. Yeah, the refs are watching Barnett closely. This is to the reputation that he has. And I think this is a key thing with Derek Barnett. I don't want to spend a lot of time today talking Derek Barnett, but I think that alone is an issue to keep in mind. Boston will win you 2 games a year. Agreed. Just cut Covey. We'll get back to this. I'm going to write this one down, K1, because I think the wide receiver position is an interesting battle going on right now. That's not getting enough credit. Bills and Eagles very last on waiver order. Mariota stinks. Yeah, as we just heard from Martin Frank, Mariota is quarterback 2 on this team without a shadow of a doubt. With these quarterbacks, yeah. You like the I Have No Sponsor hotline? Hey, I don't have a sponsor, so that's what it is. But anyway, we're back here. We're caught up on the comments. I hit as many of them as I could. And again, I greatly appreciate Martin Frank giving us 20 minutes of his time this morning. But let's get into it. So I want to talk. I wanted to talk about it all week, and we haven't gotten into it yet. And it's Jalen Carter. But also, I'm going to throw in Jordan Davis's name because I saw something online right before we went live. I don't even care if you buy the merch; just buy the pizza. On a side note, we'll get to Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis in a second. What is too many toppings on a pizza? Last night, I had somebody order a 16-inch pizza. Okay. Online, paid for it and all. He was super happy when it was made. On his pizza, it had pepperoni, ham, sausage, ground beef, bacon, mushrooms, tomatoes. Shoot, what else? Black olives, extra cheese. I'm forgetting. There were 12 toppings on his pizza. 12 toppings. That 16-inch pizza cost $36, and he was more than happy to pay for it. How the hell are you, A, going to pick it up? I have a New York-style thinner type pizza. Secondly, how you going to taste all 12 toppings? Like 12 toppings is absolute insanity. 3 toppings is the max. Yeah, I agree. 3, 4 depending, maybe 2. Hell, I'm just a cheese guy. We love football. We do love football here. 2 is the limit. 2, I'm okay with 2. At least you could taste 2 quality toppings. 12 toppings? 7. Judlin, how are you tasting all 7 toppings? I'm a no to anchovies, but I do understand people like it. How does that sound delicious? Insanity. Insanity. You can't taste any of that. No. You'll taste it. And how am I supposed to cook that properly? You know, I had to cook this pizza an extra 5 minutes. And it normally takes about 8 minutes to roll pizza through my oven. I pushed it back, cooked about an extra 5 minutes. The bottom of it was burning, and the middle of it wasn't even fully cooked yet. He was actually not as big as you would think. I consider myself pretty average, 6'2", 225. A little chunky, but not too bad. He wasn't bigger than me. So just saying. Pepperoni, extra sauce, anchovy sauce. Now, so I get the anchovies. I think pepperoni is the most overrated topping in the world, without a shadow of a doubt. The maximistic approach to pizza, just click every topping on the sheet and just order every single one of them. We all know who the guy is when we read about the bathroom exploded. Yeah, pineapple was on the pizza as well. I hate pineapple on a pizza. I don't like pineapple ever. Never go over. I like depends on what I'm going with. Bacon, onions, banana peppers, sausage, bacon. Those are the toppings I'm looking for normally on a pizza. But anyway, pizza topping, side topping, over. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. So I saw something this morning about Jordan Davis, and I've been wanting to talk about Jalen Carter a lot this week. First and foremost, got that cup pepperoni. I don't even know what cup pepperoni is. We have a nice flat pepperoni. First off, Jalen Carter, when Martin Frank was on the show, mentioned Jalen Carter lining up on the outside with the Dirk Barnett on the play that Dirk Barnett started his fight. Well, he's Hawaiian. Pineapples, Hawaiians, or whatever he is. He's from Hawaii. I get it. Jalen Carter was on the outside on that Dirk Barnett play. And we're seeing and hearing a lot of reports of Jalen Carter lining up outside. First and foremost, I can't understand how the NFL let Jalen Carter slip to us. I just can't. It's insane that Jalen Carter is a Philadelphia Eagle right now. It really is. My allergies are crazy lately. Do we like Jalen Carter lining up on the outside? Does that excite you? Like, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, how's this rotation going to go on the defensive line? And when Jalen Carter can play inside and on the outside, it just creates so many creative lineups for Sean Desai on the defensive end. And then you throw Jordan Davis, who is coming off of, a questionable rookie season, injuries, not getting on the field a lot. Then he comes into camp in great shape. And what I brought this up, and I bring in Jordan Davis into this conversation because I saw somebody posting one of the super fan pages on Facebook, which if you say anything negative, you're not a super fan. Kyle knows what I'm talking about. He's one of the moderators of one of them. And he said, Jordan Davis, we're not hearing his name much in camp because of big explosive plays and this and that. And I think people are going to misevaluate Jordan Davis. Jalen Carter's, he's a run stopper. He's going to get after the quarterback. There's a chance Jalen Carter at some point in his career has double-digit sacks. Jordan Davis is not that. Jordan Davis is going to be the guy that gets overlooked constantly because a lot of what he doesn't show up on the basic stat sheet. He's never going to have 100 tackles or 70 tackles. He's never going to get 10 sacks. He's not going to have a lot of forced fumbles. But what you're going to see is if you go to the deeper stats, Jordan Davis is always going to have a high percentage of double teams. He's going to be snap percentage-wise highest in the league in double teams. He's going to have high win rates on the block and get into the backfield, which causes other people to get sacks or get the tackle for the loss. Jordan Davis is going to be very effective, but you're not going to see it on the basic stat sheet. And when I saw that person in that Facebook group say, "Oh, Jordan Davis is going to be a bust because you're not hearing his name in camp," he's never going to be a flashy player. And I think Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter will be the flash, and Jordan Davis will be the bang. It's like a thunder lightning combo, and they're both massive guys. Saying that Jalen Carter is the lightning to the thunder of Jordan Davis is insane because Jalen Carter is massive behemoth. But I think people need to realistically look at what Jordan Davis does and understand that he is not going to be a statistical, stud. He's going to be a statistical anomaly because you're not going to know what you're getting. But a real football fan will watch what he does as part of this rotation and realize that he's creating a lot. It's like the Nolan Smith. I got called out on Twitter by somebody saying Nolan Smith did not have a good preseason game against the Browns because he did not actually get any of the sacks. But he was in the backfield disrupting how many plays before he got hurt. Just because the stats don't line up doesn't mean you play bad. Didn't Carter deliberately tank his draft stock? I mean, maybe. I don't know. You can start that. You can start that if you want. Oh my God. Who cares? Yeah, exactly. Yes, I love it. He will go against tackles who are naturally taller, which gives him an advantage because he plays so low. Absolutely agree with you on that. I am on that super fan page on Facebook. You are spot on about that. Yeah, I mean, you saw probably the same post I'm talking about. Like, I just don't get it. Like, not every person's going to put up double-digit sacks. Not every person's going to force 20 fumbles. But if you draw a double team every single time you're out there, that means Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, Nolan Smith are all getting single team blocked. Somebody's going to win every single time. Jordan is the take up two blockers on every. Jordan Davis is the type of guy that he's going to take up three blockers on some plays. And that's going to free up so many guys to get free looks at quarterbacks and running backs. And I think people are going to have to realize that. Jalen Carter, on the other hand, I mean, he's an athletic freak, and Kyle puts it perfectly. He's played tight end. He's played punter. The guy's done it all on the field. And I think this Eagles defense is set up for success because I'm coining it now. Thunder and lightning. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, the newest Thunder and Lightning combo in Philadelphia. If you can beat that nickname for Carter and Davis, let me know, and I'm going to make a shirt about it. I might do a Thunder and Lightning T-shirt tonight. Put it up for sale on my T-shirt site. If it doesn't get banned like every other shirt I've tried to create that gets, violations, I got to get a new T-shirt site, one that's not as strict about what I put on there. If you're a person who could play, by the way, man, chatter, now that you're back in the comments, instead of not leaving or hiding that you're watching the show at work, just get your boss watching too. Be like, boss, I'm not working. I'm watching the greatest morning show. Let's put it up on the big screen for everybody to watch. Make more fans for me instead of hiding that you're a fan of the show. Wear it proud, a badge of honor. I just watched film on Jordan Davis when available. Stats aren't facts. Context matters. Exactly, Drew. Stats can be proven false. Milton Williams is one. His core stats, what do you have? 3.5, 4.5 sacks last year? But his win rate was very high. His getting into the backfield rate was very high. His run stopping based off of percentage snaps played was very high. Sometimes you got to look past the stats. I didn't even mention Milton Williams' name when I rattled off all those guys. And you guys all know I'm a huge Milton Williams guy. I think he has a big, big, big breakout season. 100% right. Stats sometimes, I'm not an over-analytical guy. Like in baseball, I still look at ERA and average. In basketball, I still look at, basic shooting percentages and rebound percentages. In football, I still look at tackles and sacks and catches. But I understand there's a place for analytics. And somebody like Jordan Davis is a place for analytics. Exactly on Anthony, a nose tackle. The nose tackle has gone away in the NFL to an extent. You don't have the old school nose tackles like you used to. But Jordan Davis is going to be somebody that brings that back. Delta and Omicron. It's a contender. I'll think about it. What would I use? I would have to find a good image to put with it. I'm not sure. I got to think about that one. You want me to come up with designs and talk sports at the same time. Understanding how the defense works takes insight. Not everyone has insight. I don't want to call people out for being dumb. I'm not. Everyone's opinion matters, and this guy's opinion on Facebook does matter to me. I just don't have a problem saying you're wrong about your opinion. That's all. And see, the thing is, like, and this is where this show sets me apart from everybody else. Even if your opinion I disagree with, or if I think it's wrong, I'm going to explain why I think it's wrong. And if that guy was watching this show, I would greatly accept him to tell me why he thinks I'm wrong. Because everybody's opinion matters. If I was the opposing team offense coordinator, I wouldn't run up the middle at all. But then you attack the edges. You got Josh Sweat. You got Brandon Graham. Jalen Carter sometimes. Dirk Barnett, who's probably making the team. You've got Hassan Reddick. You got Nolan Smith. You got Nakobe Dean, who could fly sideline to sideline or get in the backfield to make a tackle as well. Like, the possibilities with this defense are endless. We might have questions about who the 4th, 5th, 6th cornerback will be. We might have questions who's going to start at safety and be the backup safety. But there's no questions about the defensive line. None whatsoever. And whoever's playing in the secondary will be better because of how great this defensive line is. A serious question. Somebody cut. Nobody that's going to get cut. Like, the people that are going to get cut, I don't care if they play on the Stars. Like, if Jalen Hurts got cut, sure, I'd watch him on the Stars, but it's not going to happen. 4 sacks. I said 3.5 or 4.5. He had 4. All right. We'll meet in the middle with that one. All right. But it doesn't mean Milton Williams is bad. Milton Williams played like 35% of the snaps on defense last year. His percentages per snaps were some of the tops in the league. Who's ashamed? I'm a little behind on that one. Vince Wilfork, Richard Seymour. Yeah, those guys don't exist anymore in the NFL. Jordan, it's interesting. I had an interview. I forget which person I had on this show. This was before when I was on my previous network. One of the coaches I've had on this show before, talking about how defensive had changed. You know, they want more athletic defensive tackles and stuff like that. But what it does is now the league has gravitated away from the old school Vince Wilforks, the Jordan Davis type defensive linemen, that now with these athletic offensive linemen, you can run up the middle again. Now the Eagles and Howie Roseman's being a little progressive and going out and getting a Jordan Davis so that when people do try to run up the middle against him, he's now back to like the sway. It went big defensive lineman to athletic offensive lineman, back to big defense. It just keeps going up and down. I think it's interesting. The mad chatter depends who it is. Exactly. I think it's a weird question. Exactly. Ian Book could end up on the Stars, and I still wouldn't watch. I go, all right. Ian Book is not anything special. I'm a huge Milton Williams guy. I think Milton Williams is going to have a very, very, very strong impact on this team this year. His snap count will hit, at a minimum, in my opinion, 50% of snaps played. Boston Scott wouldn't play on the Stars, though, man, chatter, though. Because there will, as you heard from Martin Frank, who's there every day covering this team, Boston Scott's most likely making this team. And if he doesn't, he's an NFL quality running back, a team in the NFL. So it's a hypothetical, and I get that, but he's not going to not get picked up. He's not going to get picked up, or he is going to get picked up by an NFL team. Yeah, you don't see the traditional 3-4 anymore. You see a lot of 5-2s. I think 5-2, 5-2-5, 5-2-7, 5-2-4, 5-1-5, or 5-2-4. That's the way of defenses now. That dime nickel defense is played so much more. You've got a slot corner on the field every single play now. Cornerbacks got to be able to play the runs now. Honestly, I focused on Nolan Smith, and he has advanced rushing skills. His hand usage, his dip are all absolutely. I just named all these names, and we're talking about Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, but we're not throwing in the other guy, Nolan Smith. Howie Roseman, man, has really built a beast of a defensive line for this Philadelphia Eagles. And it's so young. You got Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham at the end of their careers, but you got all these other guys. Josh Sweat's not that old yet. You know, you've built a force up front of young, super talented guys, and deep too. If one, we worry about what happens with Devontae Smith or AJ Brown if one goes down because of lack of wide receiver depth. Just say one of these defensive linemen goes down, boom, another All-Pro level guy ready to step right in and continue that fight. In Buffalo, we have Camp Hero fans love. They get bubbled out. Oh, we do. We call it, Matt Chatter, we call it the Paul Turner syndrome. Paul Turner was a guy years ago. He was a wide receiver that had this huge camp, and he got cut. And he never got picked up by anybody else. I don't even know if he ever played in the NFL. Travis Fulgham syndrome. You know, he had 4 games where he led the NFL for 4 weeks in receptions. He can't stick on a roster anywhere else now. How good is this team? Milton Williams would start on 80%. He's going to get more than 10 snaps a game this year, Anthony. I'm just going to tell you right now. Milton Williams is going to play. It is going to be a guy that he gets, maybe not right away, but he is going to be a 50% snap guy by the end of the year. Or, sadly enough, he might be a trade target. If we need a linebacker or a safety or something, he might be a guy that gets traded. Not for the running back that we will not name, for one person in this show, Mr. K1. Again, we still got 17 likes on YouTube, 4 on Facebook. Pound that like button for me. Grow that algorithm. More views equals better show, more money, better guests, better everything. More opinions. I want everybody's opinion. Vita Vea is a monster nose tackle in Tampa Bay. If Jordan Davis could be close to that, yeah. There's not many guys like Vita Vea and Jordan Davis in the league anymore. They just don't have them anymore. Everyone's focused on defense. Our offense is putting up for it. Yeah. Our defense is going to have to be better this year than last year, though, K1. And our offense is going to have to be better this year than last year. Yeah, we've got a weak start to the schedule. But we have a tougher schedule in the middle of the season. We're not going to be able to take our foot off the throttle on offense like we did last year. We're going to have to score in the second half more frequently than we did last year. But that also means our defense has to be better because we're going to be going up against Kansas City, Buffalo, Dallas twice, in literally like San Francisco in a 6-week span. We're going to have to be better. And offense is what we have, I would say, in the last 3 or 4 weeks of training camp, K1, we've probably spent 80% of our time talking offense to 20% of the defense. So I want to give some love to this defense. Maybe. And, but it's not good. Dude, I start talking XFL on this show or at USFL. I think I'll lose more viewers if I start talking about Trey freaking Turner hitting a walk-off single last night in the big comeback in the 9th inning for the Phillies. Sweat's only 26. Exactly, the youth. I mean, yeah, we've got these veteran leaders on our team in Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. But our third, I don't know if it's really, but our third oldest regular rotation guy on this defensive line is 26 years old. I know Slay and Bradbury are older, but on that defensive line. Sweat's just hitting his prime. It's insane, the defense that has been built here in the front. This defense, most important trait will end up being how interchangeable they are. Yeah, I always go back, Tyrone, to early in Fletcher Cox's career, 2016, 15, 16, 17. He was at his peak. Why? And it's been a while since I brought this topic up, so I don't remember the exact number. He was averaging like 58% snaps per game. We had a great rotation on that line. It wasn't just Fletcher Cox. You look at 2017. The guys that were interchangeable when we won that Super Bowl. Because you kept them healthy and fresh for the playoff run. And then later in his career, 18, 19, he starts slowing down 20. Why? Because they were playing him 70% of the snaps. And then he was less effective later in the season. People are saying he's old, whatnot, blah, blah, blah. Having that interchangeable parts and having multiple interchangeable parts that could all start and play on any other team makes them dangerous. No, I wouldn't watch Travis Fulgham. No. I care less about Travis Fulgham. Dude, no, it's how I pronounce it. How I pronounce everyone's name is how it's pronounced. If you haven't learned, I can't pronounce names. I still can't even say Olamide Zacchaeus or whatever his name is. I just say OZ. How I pronounce his name is how it goes. People have been butchering my last name for 42 years. I might as well butcher their names. Why not? It's kind of like my thing, K1. Like, it started out because it's a real legit thing. I can't pronounce names. Now it's just kind of a gag. I do it to see who picks up on it. No. Nobody wants to talk USFL or XFL. Only you. Hybrid players, though, is the future. Being able to be multi-talented is the way this game's going. You got to have guys that can do multiple things on a team. Defense should wear gloves the same color. Are we going there this morning, Marshawn? We're still not over that, Marshawn? Are we still? Because I'm ready to move on. Move on from the Super Bowl. I'm ready to focus on this year, now, the present. Off topic. Hey, like I said, this show is about you guys. Anthony, if you want to talk Phillies last night, and Gabe Kapler of being an absolute bonehead, look, I will say one thing about Gabe Kapler. He wasn't the problem or the main problem with the Phillies when he coached the Phillies. He had an awful GM in Matt Klentak. Awful president, Andy McPhail. He leaves Philly and has done a fantastic job coaching the Giants. But his coaching style just doesn't resonate with Philadelphia. Hell, Rob Thompson's style doesn't resonate a lot with some people. But Trey freaking Turner, I mean, since his stand, I was not a fan of giving a struggling player a standing ovation. But, man, let me tell you something. It worked. And Trey Turner is one of the hottest players in baseball right now. You let us discuss player apparel. I'll let you discuss whatever you want to discuss outside the XFL and USFL. And hell, I even put the USFL and XFL comments up there. The problem is when you play so many snaps, it shortens his effectiveness. If you can keep your core players at 50-55, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm cool with that. I don't think I will be over it. Yeah, all right. So being over it is different than moving on. I'll never be over any championship loss, the World Series, NBA Finals, if we ever get to one. I'm not over the 2001 Sixers championship loss to the Lakers, even though we were such an overachieving team with just one player. Is that the last team to make a finals with only one star and a bunch of role players, Allen Iverson, that year? Now it's all multi-star teams. You'll never see a team like Allen Iverson and that Sixers team in 2001 make a finals ever again. Glove problems. Crickets. Agreed, but still a dumb manager at times. I mean, he's Gabe Kapler. You know, we just talked about with Jordan Davis looking at analytics, that sometimes analytics have to be a part of sports, Anthony. Gabe Kapler literally runs his team by a computer. It's literally, what does I remember, doesn't he have like binders and binders in the dugout? Like, what does the computer tell me to do? He should have been part of, like, Gabe Kapler has taken Moneyball style to an extreme. It's all the analytics and numbers. It only costs $10. I don't even know where that came from. The $5. Look, I greatly appreciate all support of this show. I really do. I appreciate the super chats. They make a big difference in what I do. I did just order a new soundboard and microphone. It does help. The streaming service costs money. It does help. but I just greatly appreciate everybody tuning in on a daily basis. We're finally over the Carson Wentz. Are we? Are we? Because toxic relationships, you always end up going back to the toxic relationship, right? I mean, I kind of feel like we do. 2001, it was. I was still in college. I was in my senior year of college during the 2001 run. It's a lifetime ago. But you're just not going to see it in the NBA. Teams make deep runs with one superstar. You're just not going to do it. What is up, Liam? Yesterday, someone was looking for you on this show. There are still people that want Liam to do more shows. They like that accent, that Australian accent of yours. But anyway, we're down to the final 10. Final 10 minutes. We still only got 10 or 17 likes on YouTube, 4 on Facebook. Pound that like button, guys. But anyway, we didn't even get to wide receivers today. We didn't talk the running backs much today. We got that tomorrow. Look, we're going to talk a lot about the roster bubbles tomorrow because that's what the last preseason game is for. Who are going to be those final guys? Who are going to be the guys cut by Tuesday next week? That's right. Liam is in the comments. Whenever you see Philly Sports Network commenting, outside the initial 2 comments I put at the beginning of the show, yeah, outside of that, it's always Liam under there. 2001 is a great movie. 2001 is a movie? I couldn't even have told you that. 2001 movie. I don't even know what you're talking about. There's a movie called 2001. Are you talking about Space Odyssey? I don't know. You're really digging deep there. Yeah, coming into my show to promote what you're going to cook up for your show. No, I'm just kidding with you. My man. Anyway, we got lots to keep going into this week. Okay, I just want to make sure that's what you're talking about. I'm like, is there a movie called 2001? I'm like, I don't know. A Space Odyssey was the only thing I can come up with. What was that, like 1968 or something like that? K1, thank you very much, my man. See you. Wouldn't want to be you. But we got lots of bubble talk going on. That's what we got to focus on tomorrow. But I love this defensive talk today. Oh, man, K1 left. So now Mister feels safe bringing in the Jonathan Taylor conversation. K1 says, gotta go. Oh, but he didn't go. He was lying, K1. K1 says, I'm going. Finally, the JT comment comes, and K1's like, nah. I'm still here. I don't want to hear it. No, I would not do Jonathan Taylor, Mister, for a couple reasons. One, very comfortable with our running back trio, quad, whoever it is. Swift, Gainwell, Penny, Scott, Sermon, any 3 or 4 of those guys, I'm cool with. The only way I would do it, I thought you said gotta go. I'm kind of reading through. I've seen it. I've seen the movie many of times. It's a great movie. It's a masterpiece of cinema. I'd rather talk about that than Jonathan Taylor with you. Would it rank in my top 10 movies of all time? No. Definitely in my top 15, 16 movies of all time. I could do a whole show on my top 10 movies of all time. Absolutely. But back to this. Look, there's no need. The only way I do Jonathan Taylor, the only way, is A, if Jonathan Taylor understands it's on a 1-year deal, because that's his problem. He wanted the extension in Indy. We're not going to give him the big extension he wants, mister. At least we shouldn't. And 2, if he understands, if the Colts understand, then we're not giving up much. The Colts are going to want a Christian McCaffrey type return. 4 draft picks. I think they gave up 4 draft picks, 1 being a second-round pick, mister. That is not happening. Just not happening. So that is the thing with Jonathan Taylor. It's the cost, capital-wise, to get him and the cost to keep him, because that's why he wants out of Indy. And that's it. So that's why I wouldn't do it. And that's the only reason. I mean, I'm not doubting his talent as a running back. I don't think he's washed or injury-prone just because of 1 bad year last year. Look, I'm not worried about all that. Him on our team, we'd be better. Him running behind our offensive line, we'd be better. But you got to look at the whole picture. And Jonathan Taylor just doesn't make sense for me. Is there a doubt? Does anybody say no, he's not? Rather talk Phil's movie picks. We're going to close it. Can you guys guess? There's only 14 people left watching. You guys have started to tune out in the end here. Because of Jonathan Taylor, probably, right? No, I'm just kidding, mister. Can you guys guess any of my top 3 movies of all time? Can you? And they're pretty set in stone in my mind. Can you guess my top 3? Any of the 3 movies that would hit my top 3? If you can guess them, you get a thumbs up. That's it. You're not getting a prize or anything. Last year was one of the worst years in Philly sports in terms of disappointing finishes. Without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. Star Wars, absolutely not. I am not a Star Wars fan. I respect the original 3's cultural importance. I will watch them occasionally when they're on TV as something just to keep on in the background. I am not a Star Wars fan. Godfather, mister, isn't even the best Godfather movie. Just so you know. A big Teddy fan. One of the worst Adam Sandler movies of all time. Apocalypse Now, right there with Space Odyssey, top in that 10 to 20 range, not even in my top 10. I can't. Rocky. No, Rocky. Rocky isn't the best Rocky movie. Just so you know. You're hard to pin down. We're going to only get jokes, aren't we? The Eagles movie was Invincible, not my top 10 movies, but it's 1,000% my top 10 football and sports movies, without a shadow of a doubt. Stop the jokes. I'm asking a serious question. Guess one of my top 3, and you guys can't pull it out. That's what she said. Phil lined up to watch Magic Mike in theaters. And I camped out overnight for Magic Mike 2, without a shadow of a doubt. Like, I'm just not a sci-fi, fantasy, I'm not into that genre of movies. And the originals are great. The Star Wars to me is like the Beatles. Not my cup of tea. But I respect and understand how important they are to the history of movies and music. Full Metal Jacket does not get enough respect for sure. But is not in my top 5 or 10 movies of all time. My positional breakdown's ready to go in the AM. Look, I'm ready. If I didn't have a hoagie tray to make as soon as I get a wrap tray to make as soon as I get to work, we'd be doing it right now. You've got me out. Stop. Saving Private Ryan. Funny Saving Private Ryan story. I took a girl on a first date to a movie. And I'm like, what movie do you want to see? She's like, let's go see Saving Private Ryan. I'm like, really? For a first date? All right, sure. I like this girl. She wants to go see a deep war movie. And after the date, she's like, what? That was a crappy movie. I'm like, what? She's like, well, I only picked it because my last name's Ryan, and Ryan was in the. She had no idea what the movie was about. I'm like, we can't see each other again. I'm like, we're done. No, not happening. Stop. Ace Ventura. I'm trying to think, which one of Jim Carrey movies is my favorite? Ace Ventura? The Mask? Man, that's a tough one. That's tough. Which one of his movies are the best? Dude, look. Godfather 2 is a top 5 movie for me, without a shadow of a doubt. It is so perfect. I love all the flashbacks to Italy. Godfather 2 and Rocky 2 are the best of their series, without a shadow of a doubt. Godfather 2, depending on what mood I'm in that day, would be 4 or 5 on my list of all time. We got to wrap this up. I got to start the wrap up. I do. But I will give you a taste. Hot take. Movie is a bad first date. Yeah, you really don't get to do. I was like 16 or 7. What year did Saving Private Ryan? 99? I was at Friendly's working as a cook then. So that'd be like 99 or something like that. I was like 18, 19 years old. Couldn't go to a bar. But yeah, terrible first date. You don't actually get to talk to the person. You got to be silent the whole time. Totally agree. I'm going to give you one of my top movies of all time. I'm going to give you one. And we'll see if by tomorrow you guys can come up with the rest of my list. My number 1 movie is so predictable, guys. It's a Shawshank Redemption. It is as near perfect as a movie can be. Dinner and Movie was the move in the late 90s. It was. There used to be a place in Delaware in Wilmington, Funscape. They had like mini golf and indoor putting and arcade and a bar and a restaurant, sometimes live bands. That was a cool place to take a date back then. My man, Kyle, thank you very much. Got to. Shawshank Redemption is as perfect as a movie can get, in my opinion. It's number one. But based off of that, and hearing what I've said, maybe you guys could get 2, 3, 4, any of them. You got the only one mentioned that's in my top 10 so far is Godfather 2. We cannot be friends. I am going to spend all day tomorrow, K1, talking about Jonathan Taylor trades if you don't take that back. Without a shadow of a doubt. That's all we're doing tomorrow. Peanut. Of course a cheater would say that. Nobody gets the inside joke, but only a cheater would say that. If you guys don't think it's a perfect movie, then I don't know what to tell you. Man, I'm getting killed. Killed for Shawshank. But maybe knowing that Shawshank is my favorite, maybe you guys can get some more. For sure. Anyway, we're going to wrap up Trending the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network right there for the day. I actually love The Exorcist. I love old scary movies, not new scary movies. When the sound effects and the acting is actually what you were scared of, not the special effects. Like the Saw movies are cool, but they don't scare me. Like, they just don't. New horror movies are terrible, in my opinion. I couldn't handle life on the inside. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I went to Alcatraz. I got locked in a solitary confinement cage. Let me tell you something. Scary stuff for those 2 minutes I was in that cage. Rounders is a fantastic movie. I actually just saw somebody complaining that it was an overrated movie because of the poker part of it, and it's true. But man, every time I watch Rounders, check. How many times do I quote Rounders on this show? Check it, check it, check. You trap me. All you do is trap me. John Malkovich's Russian accent, awful, awful. Reservoir Dogs, just saw something on that the other day. Fantastic movie. Not top 5 though. I'm going to wrap this show up today. We're already into overtime without the super chat. So we're going to wrap it up. Trending AM right here. Special shout out to my man Martin Frank from the Delaware News Journal for joining us. Make sure you follow him at MFrankNFL. He's right there with Chris Franklin, Ed Kratz, ESP for all that great, training camp and football updates on a daily basis. So make sure you shoot my man a follow. We're all cool, right? To an extent, in our own ways. Everybody have a great Wednesday. Back tomorrow, Thursday. Getting prepped for that final preseason game tomorrow night. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. Trending the AM. We're out for the day. Guys, go Birds!